Hi, I'm Rupert from Fantastic Pictures, and I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on the GoPro Fusion. But first, some backstory.
Omnidirectional cameras, or 360 cameras for short, have in the grand scheme of things been a pretty recent development. The first time I saw 360 video was when people were 3D printing rigs of their own, whacking a few GoPros on them and then stitching the images together manually. It was then later that companies such as Ricoh and Insta360 started pushing out consumer 360 cameras, and they were much easier to use and pretty cheap. Meanwhile, GoPro had the professional side of things covered, with cameras like the Omni and the Odyssey, both of which produce fantastic images but are far more difficult to actually use and pretty expensive. It really took until late 2017 for GoPro to challenge the mainstream market with its latest product, the Fusion. Similar in design to the Hero 5 and 6, it's easy to pick up and shoot with, it's meant to be easy to stitch and has a much lower price tag than its previous 360 counterparts.
So immediately on holding the camera, you'll feel that it's pretty sturdy. You've got this main kind of slot in here, and that's got the one battery as well as the two SD card slots that it continuously records to. It also comes with a normal GoPro mount on the bottom and this kind of selfie stick type thing that you can get out, extend, change the angle on, flick the legs out, you know, great, all good stuff. Waterproof up to 5 meters or 16 feet, which is great. But one of the main kind of worries about the build of this camera and issues is the lenses on both sides. I actually think the image quality on this thing is really good, and that's probably because it shoots 5.2K video. Now, in the past, we've done professional 360 shoots, we've been using a camera like an Odyssey or an Omni, and then sometimes we use a compact 360 camera like this one alongside it. Now, normally those 360 cameras, the video just isn't good enough to cut in with stuff from the bigger cameras and isn't something we put in front of a client. So we'll normally use them in the time-lapse setting, where it's just taking images, photos or whatever, to unlock those kind of larger resolutions and that kind of better quality. And then we can use that footage as backup or B-roll or whatever. But to be completely honest with the Fusion, I'd be happy to put this video in front of a client. So one of the main problems you often face with 360 cameras is stitch lines. Sometimes if you get too close, particularly where there's not coverage from the lens, you get this kind of horrible distorted parallax effect. So now I'm going to run a test with the Fusion and see how close you can get this yellow coconut empty thing to the sides of it without getting that horrible distorted effect. That's recording, 5.2K, 30 frames per second. I'm going to put the coconut maybe 2 meters away. Hopefully that should be okay. I think the Fusion you can take in quite confined spaces. So try again, but maybe like 90 centimeters away, a meter away. Again, I would kind of anticipate that that should be okay. You might start to get a tiny bit of distortion, but it should be okay. That's pretty close, it's like 50 centimeters away. Okay, now we're gonna go in even closer. Right now it's maybe like 30 centimeters away, something like that. So it's pretty close. I don't know how the camera's holding up with it now. One last one, and I'm literally going to put the coconut at the foot of the tripod from the GoPro. One of the great things about this camera is the stabilization. You can literally do things like this and stabilize that in post because of the 360 image.
So one of the biggest things with 360 cameras is the post-production. The Fusion doesn't stitch the two images that it captures together in camera. You have to run it through the software. I did see some kind of negative reviews and stuff on the GoPro website about the Fusion Studio app doing this, but I had absolutely no problem stitching it together whatsoever. You can then import the stitched image straight into Premiere Pro and start kind of manipulating it and doing whatever with it. But I actually didn't do the edit on this, so I'm going to ask Hannah, who's our new apprentice at Perspective Pictures, how she found it. So can you explain to me, given your limited experience with Premiere, how you found editing with the Fusion footage? Was it easy? Was it hard? Was it intuitive? You know, has it taken a long time to get your head around? How's it been?
Well, once you render it and you install the plugin, it's quite straightforward from there. You can easily create tiny welds and different kind of motions just using the 4 main tools. It's definitely user-friendly and easy to use. And especially when it comes to post-processing, it's very easy to stitch together and edit within Premiere Pro using the plugin. So I think GoPro have done a very good job on their end.
Despite all the progress we've made with VR and 360 video, the medium still has a really long way to go. Now, with this in mind, I really like the Fusion because it's not just a 360 camera, it's also been built really well for normal video. So you can do things like create tiny world effects and other kind of awkward abstract things you wouldn't normally be able to do. You're able to create artificial movement in post. It's got fantastic stabilization. And finally, if you're filming something and you're not sure where the movement's going to be or where the action's going to happen, you can literally just chuck one of these down and then get the framing in post. I know a lot of this stuff theoretically will be possible on other 360 cameras, but in the past I found that either the resolution's been awful or it's been a nightmare to stitch, or you end up with a camera the size of a suitcase.
So if you were going on a trip with your mates to Barcelona, I probably wouldn't want to take one of these things along. There's quite a lot of post-production work involved and all that sort of thing. But as a filmmaking tool, I think it's a fantastic thing to kind of have in your bag. Once you get your head around using it and you kind of understand the possibilities of what you can do with it, there's so much you can kind of add to what you're already shooting. For an investment of £650, I don't think it's bad at all. I genuinely really like it, and Wex sent this to me to try. We've sent it back, but drum roll. After using the Fusion for 2 weeks, I did decide to go out and buy one, and I do not regret that decision. I think it's great. Thanks very much to Chris from Wex for getting us involved, and I'll see you on the next one, if we get invited.